and I can't help but feel they haven't given you much of a chance to show what kind of a mayor you could be. But in a sense, I can't help but feel they have, in the sense that they've shown the strength of your character as they've continuously attacked you for a year and a half, if not more, and you're still standing and fighting, mate.
Yeah, look, I think that's been the I guess biggest takeaway from everything. I've always wanted to maintain firm and very concise and deliberate in what I want to do, and that's about bringing the turnaround in Townsville City Council. Let's make sure that any influence, any political party, any corruption, any mismanagement should be outed. So this time round, it's all about the people of Townsville. You said I've stood up. I'm still standing, and the reason I've done that is because of you go in to chamber in the best sense of the word to make the right decision for your community. But behind the scenes, there's workshops where bureaucrats tell you how you must vote, what you should do. They're not saying, they're not twisting your arm making you vote, but they're certainly making you feel uncomfortable enough and coercing you to vote a certain way. And that's the problem. And then if you come out publicly, which we all know I do, I have a habit of doing, and call out these problems, then you'll get a quiet little letter from the legal department that reminds you of your obligations to do what's right by Townsville City Council. But I thought I represented the people of Townsville, not just Townsville City Council. And that's the truth of it. Well, here's something. Why don't we go into a chamber, and if we don't like a decision, we say no. And then we go to a workshop. We don't say, yeah, look, we'll agree for it now and we'll have a workshop and come back, because it never comes back. Why do we go and spend $156 million on Lansdowne when our sewage is busted, our pipes are busted, our maintenance isn't done, our employees aren't getting paid the right amounts, and they have to strike just to get a result, which affects everybody in Townsville. It's not about the community. It's about sacrificing for their community, and they're not doing that. The bureaucrats don't care because they get an income. At the end of the day, they get an income higher than the councillors. The councillors are comfortable. They just do what they're told, pick up their pay, and they're secure for 4 years. I don't want to be secure ever. I want to be challenged, and I want to challenge the bureaucrats. Speaking about these rubbish collections, what choice did staff on the ground who have been paid under the average rates of that position and less than their neighbouring councils, they had no choice. Now, I don't always agree with unions. I've had plenty of fights with them, but they had no choice. And I supported that they should be paid because they're doing the actual work. They're not getting caught up in he said, she said, let's put $800,000 on a Wedgwood display. They've got their boots on the ground and they're physically working for us. They should never be abused. If you do the maths, the $16 million should be allocated to those pay rises of those staff. But in all honesty, we're top heavy. You got managers for managers. And I'm always brought back to that diagram that everybody's seen on social media where there's 24 managers at the top, workplace health and safety manager, managers, general managers, and there's one bloke in the hole. And that's that's bureaucracy. That's what we've got in Townsville. We've got one worker and we've got 24 mouths. These workers live in fear. I can assure you of that. I have so many emails where whistleblowers have been forced. They live in fear, and that's terrible. That's a terrible position. And that's part of my mandate moving forward is we need to rid the council of its toxic culture. That is my promise to the people if they vote me in. Don't vote me on what you've been told and allegations. Vote me in based simply on the democracy and people being held account, because everybody else who's put their hand up isn't doing that. If they say they do, they don't know the system. I have nothing to lose, mate. At the end of the day, I'm doing it for the right reasons. Townsville needs to know what is actually going on and why we are where we are. They don't want to hear about the new Lansdowne or why we're doing. We don't want shiny new toys or shiny new projects. We want to fix what we've got. We can't manage what we've got because of who's in those positions now. By voting me in, it sends a really clear message to all those councillors and the state government and the executive. Hang on, the people of Townsville put him back in there. Now we have a real problem because he's going to keep coming. So
Mm,
think about this example. You're an employee. You put a comment out there which is truthful. You get a gag or a please explain by the legal department and HR department. Every time you do something, you're being monitored. Your comments are being monitored, and then it starts affecting other things in your family, like your brother's got a job with such and such, and it's one of the suppliers of council, and you know that's the stuff that we've got to get to the bottom of.
mm,
These business interests, the Brisbane influence, and we've got to get back to being Townsville. Our focus and my focus is we need to get back to fix what we've got. Let's not take on other stuff. Let's look after the people we've got in this city right now. Rates did not have to rise. They
yeah.
did not have to rise. That's the truth of it. We took
Mm,
on bigger projects that cost more and applied for more debt.
yeah. Which didn't need to happen.